Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug. Streaming live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics in my presentation and the topics of the channel, and also to take a look at my post in the channel. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @Pless. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and certainly in the large cap tech stocks that I trade and follow, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index. And the NQ futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis. And for setups, and when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset, and setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the asset and the way you like to trade. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And hello, Stephen, Hector, welcome, glad you're here. Here's my agenda for today, Friday, August 23rd. First of all, I want to go over news items for today. Big event today, this morning. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's get started. So again, I'm sure everyone is aware that Jerome Powell was speaking this morning, 10 a.m., at the Jackson Hole Symposium. We'll take a look at the reaction. This is the ES futures in Bookmap, S&P 500 futures. This is the reaction at 10 a.m. Straight shot up to the upper weekly expected move. Then price oscillated up and down, found resistance at the SPY 563 level, then broke down And I did post this setup, this breakdown. It was very clearly signaled by the hero signal. We'll take a look at that in a few minutes. And price reversed lower down to 5,600. All right, so I'll get into this chart a little bit more in a few minutes. So that was the data for today, the economic event for today. Again, Jerome Powell's speech. And he basically said the time has come for policy to adjust, meaning to begin rate cuts. All right, so next week, just a quick preview. NVIDIA reports earnings on Wednesday, and the PCE data comes out on Friday. So that should keep volatility a little bit elevated through those events next week. All right, let's step back. Let's take a look at a higher time frame before we take a closer look at this chart. And I'm going to go to the SPX. This is a one-day chart in Thinkorswim. I'll go through this quickly. We've seen this chart before. Big rally last year. Correction began this year, April 1st. Rally resumed the Monday after the April options expiration, put-dominated options expiration. Next correction began on July 17th, Wednesday, July 17th. That was 3 days before the July expiration. And let's pick that up now on a 1 hour chart. So correction began, VIX expiration, Wednesday, July 17th. So let's take a look now at a 1 hour chart going down to a little bit lower time frame. Correction began again Wednesday. VIX expiration 3 days before the monthly options expiration. August 5th, huge drop down. There was some weak economic data, as well as the unwind of the yen carry trade. SPX made a low of that day of 51.19, rallied up, a little bit of a pullback to the 5,200 call wall, and then a very mechanical uptrend, up a total of about over 500 points from the low to high. All right, let's talk about levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market. Based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. Note SPX did trade above that level yesterday morning and also today as well. The dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from yesterday. I do post those levels in Discord every day the evening before. All right, so SPX has traded above both levels, the upper daily and weekly expected move earlier today. Now it looks like it may be heading up toward the upper daily expected move again. All right, so those are the expected moves. Now let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. These are levels that are provided to Spotgamma subscribers. They're available on a variety of trading platforms. This is Thinkorswim. These levels are based on gamma-weighted open interest. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, the put wall is at 5,300. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. The next level up is the volatility trigger at 55.45. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility when market makers are trading with price. Above that level, like SPX is trading now, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, Market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And just above that is the absolute, actually below that is the absolute gamma strike at 5,500. That's a strike where the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. That's where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. That level did move down from yesterday. It was at 5,600 yesterday, moved down to 5,500 today. And above that is the call wall at 5,750. That's a strike where the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. All right, so put wall 5,300, potential floor 5,750, potential ceiling. Gamma-weighted open interest is now concentrated at 5,500, and the volatility trigger just above that at 5,545. And the only shift in level, again, was the absolute gamma strike that shifted lower. And for SPY, the volatility trigger and absolute gamma strike shifted lower, and the put wall shifted higher. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. Just pointing out the rally. This is 6 days worth of data. I'll zoom in just a minute. So rally up until Wednesday, then a bit of consolidation. Mostly above 5,600. Then the sharp drop yesterday, not very characteristic of a positive gamma environment. Then it looks like more consolidation today. Also, mostly above the 5,600 level. Somewhere between 5,600, 5,590, and the upper weekly expected move at 5,628. All right, so let's just zoom in on this. All right, so dropped down yesterday. Price broke below 5,600. That's shown here. And today, earlier today, that level did hold a support, both at the open and after that drop down. Then I'll talk about that short setup in just a few minutes. Now, as the SPX is trading again above the 5,600 level. All right, let's take a look at Bookmap now. So in Bookmap, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show these levels, SPX levels, as well as SPY levels on this chart. Let me check something just a moment. Make sure I refresh my levels. All right, so again, I'm showing SPX levels and SPY levels on this chart. So here's that 5,600 level that I was talking about. That's SPX 5,600. Note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. And today it is somewhere between 19 and 20. And I'm using 19.5. So I'm using ES minus SPX at 19.5. So I'm showing SPX 5,600 at ES 5619.5. All right, so here's this 5,600 level that was in play, right? Support at the open. And around that level, support after Jerome Powell speaking. Also, here's the SPY 563 level, acting as resistance. And then the upper weekly expected move in the SPY 562 level, acting as resistance. All right, we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. All right, so those are levels in play for the S&P 500 today. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. This is the NQ futures and Bookmap. Again, 10 a.m. reaction to Jerome Powell speaking. Reversal lower. Nice short setup. And I'll talk about both of those short setups in ES and NQ in just a few minutes. All right, let's take a quick look at the underlying index charts. I'm going to go to QQQ. This is a 1-minute chart showing 2 days worth of data. Regular trading hours, dark shaded portions. Just wanted to point out yesterday, the 485 call wall acted as resistance. Just after the open, I did post a setup for NQ yesterday based on that reversal at the call wall. And during the course of the day, at the end of the day, QQQ closed at the low of the day at 474, proceeded to rally just after the close. And today that 474 level is the 0 gamma level. All right, let's just zoom in on today now. Again, regular trading hours, dark shaded portion. A couple of combo levels in play for today. 477.2, 479.1, and then 480 is a large gamma 2. Yesterday, large gamma 2 level. Yesterday, that was the absolute gamma strike, which dropped down to 470 today. All right, so those are the levels in play for QQQ today. And for QQQ, the volatility trigger and absolute gamma strike did shift lower just like SPY. For NDX, I'm going to leave it. I'll leave it like this. This is a 1-minute chart. NDX, just to show NDX. Really only one level in play. This is a combo 3 level at 19,706 and around that level acting as resistance. And note, SPY, SPX, NDX, and QQQ are currently all trading above their volatility triggers. All right, back to NASDAQ. No real clear support and resistance at these levels, the 706 as well as the QQQ 480 perhaps. All right, so I'll again get to setups in a few minutes. So shifts in levels again for NASDAQ, NDX, absolute gamma strike shifted lower, and for QQQ, the volatility trigger and absolute gamma strike also shifted lower. So the absolute gamma strike shifted lower for SPX, SPY, NDX, and QQQ. All right, let's wrap up positional analysis by taking a look at gamma notional. This is market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. This is what I'm looking at right here, gamma notional. For SPX, SPY, NDX, and QQQ. Note with the exception of SPX, all these numbers have shifted to negative from all being positive yesterday. So in a negative gamma environment, this indicates traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, hence the negative gamma, and they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. And these are mildly, I would say, SPY, NDX, QQQ, mildly negative, and SPX, mildly positive. Brent at Spotgamma likes to take a look at this Spotgamma SG Gamma Index. It ranges from -4 to +4, so it is just mildly positive, pretty neutral, at 0.355. All right, so I was expecting a little bit more volatility than yesterday, just based on the shift lower in gamma notional, and then directional bias totally depended on what Jerome Powell had to say today. All right, so let's move on. Let's take a look at some setups. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. And as always, I'm going to start by taking a look at what options traders have been doing today. So this is the HIRO signal. HIRO, Hedging Impact Real-Time Options. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. Again, I'm starting with the S&P 500, taking a look at what options traders are doing today. There are two signals that we can take a look at for the S&P 500. This first is the index signal. This is showing a combined signal of options trades and market maker hedging activity for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. There are two lines on this chart. The white line is price, and the purple line is the HIRO signal, and that's combining puts and calls. We'll take a look at puts and calls separated in a few minutes. And a declining HIRO signal indicates traders are taking negative delta options positions. They are buying puts and or selling calls. A rising HIRO signal indicates traders are taking positive delta options positions. They're buying calls and or selling puts. So this is the index signal. It is typically a little bit more noisy than the equity signal, but can often provide more of a leading indicator rather than the equity signal. So let's take a look at the equity signal. So this is another signal that we can take a look at for the S&P 500. What this is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity in real time for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500. So this chart, two lines on the chart again, HIRO signal purple, and the white line is still the SPX. All right, so now we're moving on from positional analysis to execution real time. I'm going to go to the index signal first. I'm going to go open full screen. All right, this signal was pretty choppy in the morning. We'll zoom in on it a little bit. Choppy in the morning. Up until 10 a.m. Shot higher as traders took positive delta positions after the Jerome Powell speech began at 10 a.m. And then this is what I want to point out right here. So there was a bullish setup earlier. Then everything reversed right around 10:30. Traders started taking negative delta positions. Price moved lower. Key flow alert here. And these flow alerts, especially for the S&P 500, can often be mean reverting signals, as it was here, signaling a potential shift in the HIRO signal from negative delta to positive delta. All right, I'm going to shift to puts and calls now to get a clearer picture. So the orange line is showing calls. A rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. Market makers are selling calls. In this case, they are selling calls and buying ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. So it looks like call buyers were driving price up until about 10:30. Then note both the call line and the blue line, which is puts, start moving down simultaneously. This is a very strong directional indicator. In this case, it was bearish. So signaling a reversal at 10:30 and price reverse lower, move lower. So traders started at 10:30. So 10 until 10:30, they were buying calls, driving price higher. 10:30, they start selling calls, buying puts, price reverses lower. And then right around 10:50, 10:55, they start buying calls again. Stop buying puts, price moves higher. All right, so there are three signals. And again, this is the index signal. Let's take a look at the equity signal. Also with puts and calls separated. So just like the index signal, call buyers driving price up until about 10:30. And they were actually buying calls before the 10 a.m. speech began. And the slope of the call line increased. And then at 10:30 again, traders started selling calls, buying puts. Price reversed lower. 10:55, put line flattens out. Call line flattens out. That downward pressure, that negative pressure, is turned off and price starts to move higher as traders were buying index calls. All right, so both the S&P 500, the index signal, and the equity signal providing good directional indicators this morning. Up, down, up again. All right, so let's go back to the S&P 500. And take a look at the order flow here in Bookmap. All right, so price pretty choppy from 9:30 up until about 10 a.m. Price breaks out above the SPY 560 level as traders start aggressively buying calls. The volume dots in Bookmap are showing market buy minus sell. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. And green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. So you can see all the aggressive buyers starting to come in right at 10 a.m. as price breaks up from above the at the 560 level all the way up to SPY 560. One pullback at the upper weekly expected move. Second pullback at 563, then the final test of 563. And price breaks lower at 10:30 as traders start selling calls and buying puts, taking negative delta positions. Price reverses lower. So you can see in both of these cases, buyers are exhausted. Aggressive sellers come in as traders start taking negative delta positions. Price moves lower. Let me point out in the subchart, I've got three lines in the subchart here. The dark blue line is cumulative volume delta. The yellow line is stop orders. A rising yellow line here indicates buy stop orders helping to fuel that move higher. And then the light blue line is iceberg orders. A rising light blue line indicates large traders are buying with iceberg orders. This is very typical behavior. As price starts to move lower, this is kind of a contrary indicator. As price starts to move lower, remember again, traders taking negative delta options positions, large traders start buying with iceberg orders. So notice how this gap between the lines starts to widen out. CVD and also stop line rising, level off. This gap starts to narrow, and that is often a good reversal indicator that I use. Same thing here. Again, large traders buying with iceberg orders, buying weakness, and as soon as price starts to reverse, they shut that down. Cumulative volume delta starts to rise. Buy stop orders help to fuel the move higher. So this gap had widened out, and then it starts to narrow, indicating a nice reversal around the 5,600 level. Again, that's SPX 5,600 level. And remember, again, options traders in the equity signal, they took the foot off the gas on both the call line and the put line, and traders had started buying calls in the index signal, and price moved higher, back up to the upper weekly expected move. All right, so any questions about that? Kind of a contrarian. In this case, the iceberg signal was acting kind of as a contrarian indicator, showing these two large gaps, and when they start to narrow, watching that for a potential reversal. All right, that is the S&P 500. NASDAQ, pretty similar. All right, so let's see what options traders were doing in NASDAQ. Shift back to total. I'm going to go to the NASDAQ signal. Close full screen. All right, so this signal is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of NDX and QQQ. And as you can see, it is not very useful today. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So this is the index signal for NASDAQ. Too choppy to be useful today. So let's go to the equivalent of the equity signal for the NASDAQ. This is the MAG 7 signal. What this is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. So it's showing options traders again for those 7 stocks, which make up a very large component of the NASDAQ as well as the S&P 500. All right, let's zoom in on this chart. So this is what we'll use. So in the morning, traders were taking positive delta positions. I'm going to go ahead and shift to puts and calls so we can see that it has mainly been call buyers driving price today. So from the open, from 10 to 10:30, actually from the open from 9:30 to 10:30, traders were aggressively buying calls, and they were selling puts. That's shown by the rising blue line. And that shifts again at 10:30. Traders start selling calls, buying puts, and price reverses lower. And then price moved back higher when the call sellers took their foot off the gas, as well as the put buyers. Those lines pretty much leveled off. All right, so let's go take a look at NASDAQ. Bullish from 9:30 to 10:30 and then reverse lower at 10:30. All right, so we'll zoom in on this. All right, so the earlier signals on the subchart were not quite as clear. up until around 10:50. All right, so from the open, a little bit of a grind higher. 10 a.m. Traders aggressively are buying calls. Price moves higher. Cumulative volume delta jumps up. 2 legs lower. Then price finally finds resistance just below the QQQ 483 level. Aggressive sellers starting to come in. Price moves lower. And note the large traders continue to buy with iceberg orders up until this low right around 476. And this gap widens out, starts to narrow. Price moves higher as the large traders have finished buying weakness, and then the aggressive buyers and buy stop orders help to fuel the move higher. So you can see the shift, all of the green volume dots again coming in, aggressive buyers coming in. All right, any questions about the indexes? All right, so the clear signal was this reversal in both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 at 10:30. And again, I did post that in Discord as well, that reversal, as both the Mag 7, S&P 500 index, and equity signaled blue lines, call line, put line, both move lower at the same time. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some stocks. So I'm going to go back to Hero now. I'm going to close full screen, show you something that I did this morning. This is another way to find stocks to trade. It is ranking. This is my watch list. This is my main watch list in Hero, and I did rank this by Hero signal. And I ranked it from strongest to weakness. I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this. I'm not going to re-rank it. This is what I saw this morning. So that's what I want to go over. All right, so this is what I'm doing right here. I'm ranking this Hero signal from strongest to weakness. What this Hero signal is showing is it's comparing the strength of the Hero signal today with the last 30 days. That's shown by the entire length of this slider. And also the last 5 days, that's shown by the colored portion. So you can see here in the case of IWM, I'm not going to show this, but IWM, the Hero signal, is the strongest it was this morning, strongest that has been in the last 5 days and the last 30 days. So the current Hero signal shown with the dot right there. All right, so I ranked my Hero signal by strongest to weakest. I'm going to start with the strongest stocks, and then I'm going to show a couple of the strong stocks as well as weak stocks. All right, so I'm going to start with coin, and I'm going to have to, I have this list, so I'm going to go back to full screen to make this easier to look at. Then I'm going to go through coin. Actually, when I did this, ranking was Tesla, AMD, Coin, NVIDIA on the strong side, and Meta and Microsoft on the weak side. So I'm going to go in that order. I've already got Coin, so we'll start with that. Then we'll go to Tesla. All right, so Coin was already moving higher above the 200 key gamma strike from the open. Then at 10 a.m., traders aggressively buying calls. Price moves higher. Then they took their foot off the gas right around 10:15, so before everything else in coin. And then in the afternoon, 12:30, they started buying calls again. Note the flow alert that comes in right around 12:30 before the call line starts to move higher. getting your attention. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. Call buyers definitely driving price in Coinbase today. So let's go to Coin. Let's zoom in. There's the test of the 200 key gamma strike just after the open. Kind of a grind up. And coin takes off at 10 a.m. as traders start aggressively buying calls. First deep pullback to VWAP, also shown in the market pulse price change indicator. That's shown with this oscillating indicator in the subchart. I use this for stocks. And I use these extremes as to help confirm the deeper pullbacks that are good for, in this case, for long entries in an uptrend. Pullback to VWAP, confirmed by the market pulse price change extreme, shown by the dark red there. Cumulative volume delta rising, shown by the dark blue line. Second pullback. Price makes a lower high as options traders, call buyers, were taking their foot off the gas. Note CVD levels off. Traders start selling calls, price moves lower. Remember that flow alert came in at 12:30. Traders start buying calls again, and coin breaks out of this consolidation above VWAP. And again, the market pulse price change indicator helping to point out the deep pullbacks for entries. So that flow alert that came in right around 12:30 was a good for about a 5-point move higher from just above 205 to 210 in Coinbase. All right, I'm going to go back to my original list. And I'm going to go to Tesla next. Though this was the ranking this morning of strong to weak hero signals. So let's go to Hero now, take a look at Tesla. So for Tesla, call buyers and put sellers driving price higher. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So they were buying calls and selling puts, both positive delta. Take the foot off the gas at 10:30. Start buying puts. Stop buying calls. Sell a few calls. Price moves lower and consolidates. Then right around 12:45, start buying calls again. Selling puts. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction. Price starts to move higher. All right, so let's go take a look back at Bookmap. So we know from 10 to 10:30, traders were taking positive delta positions. So let's zoom in on that. All right, let me check for questions. And oh boy, welcome, glad you're here. Ask, does the system give buy or sell signals? I'm not sure what you mean by system. Do you mean the flow alerts you do have a question about the flow alert later on. So there's no there's no buy or sell signal. I wish there was, but there's no red arrow, green arrow. What I'm doing is I'm interpreting data in real time. So the flow alerts are very helpful. These are provided by Spotgamma. Spotgamma has its own proprietary algorithm, and I take a look at the flow alert in context of everything else. But it is something that gets your attention. So let's take a look. Let's go back to Hero. I'm going to go exit full screen. So flow alerts come in here. We'll take a look at this one in just a minute. And this list refreshes pretty quickly. There are more flow alerts in the morning than the afternoon. So the flow alerts signal significant options activity. And again, can sometimes indicate a shift from negative to positive delta or vice versa. So a mean reverting price signal. That's kind of what they were designed to do. So beyond that, you'll have to take a look at the information on the Spotgamma website. You can go to the Spotgamma Support Center. I believe that is should be free and available to everyone, whether you subscribe to Spotgamma or not. There may be information about the flow alert. I was using Hero a long time before the flow alerts came out, so I'm just used to looking at Hero, and then the flow alerts are just an additional context, something to get my attention. All right, Tesla, again, very bullish morning. Go back to full screen. Traders take the foot off the gas at 10:30. Price moves lower, consolidates. Now starting around 12:45, call line, blue line moving up. Price moves up. Let's go back to full screen. All right, so here's the move higher in the morning. Uptrend finally breaks at 220. Again, the market pulse price change indicator helps to confirm the deeper pullbacks for entries. In an uptrend, I'm looking at the red extremes. Up until this trend break, again, traders had taken the foot off the gas, stopped buying calls and selling puts. Price breaks lower at 220, breaks that trend. $12.45, traders start taking positive delta positions again. Price breaks the downtrend, starts to move higher. All right, that's Tesla. So I'm going down my list of strong stocks, ranked by Hero Signal this morning. The next was AMD at the time I ranked the list. So AMD, I'm sure, has dropped down the list, was bullish this morning. Broke this downtrend, uptrend. You can see the aggressive sellers starting to come in. Broke below 155, then 155, acting as resistance. You can see the limit sell orders in the order book. Looks like they were consumed, came back in, consumed again. Price dropped lower. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to AMD. Aggressive call buyers from right around 935, driving price higher. Take the foot off the gas. Just like the index, start selling calls, or the Mag 7, start selling calls, buying puts. Price moves lower. And this call reversal pattern is a great one to look for. It has repeated over and over in the indexes as well as single stocks. So this is pretty typical behavior. Aggressive call buyers in the morning, take the foot off the gas mid-morning, price moves lower and or consolidates. All right, so in the case of AMD, as the pressure from call buyers, traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, they buy stock, they hedge the delta exposure. So as soon as that bullish pressure comes off, aggressive sellers come in, price moves lower. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. So cumulative volume delta was already falling. That's shown by the magenta line there. Then aggressive sellers came in, trend break, price broke below VWAP, now moves lower. So again, the AMD hero signal was strong in the morning and not so much this afternoon. All right, the next stock, strong stock list, NVIDIA. Nice uptrend in the morning. Oh boy asks or says, thanks, you're welcome, and asks, so the flow alert can be interpreted as reversal of options activity on relative volume. So it can be interpreted as a reversal of options activity. I think that is fairly typical, but it is not always the case. It's not 100% by any means. So I interpret the flow alert in context with everything else. So as always, when I'm trading, I'm looking at three screens. I have Hero on one screen, Bookmap on my main screen, and Trading Platform on my right screen. Hero on the left, Bookmap in the middle, Trading Platform on the right. I'm looking at all of this, interpreting the data. So I'm looking at, in real time, mainly looking at hero reactions at levels and order flow in Bookmap and interpreting all that. And then the flow alerts are just some additional information to get my attention to focus for a potential reversal. That's my first thought when I see a hero signal, especially after a large move in one direction or another. And also in a positive gamma environment, looking for those more mean reverting price action. All right, so here's NVIDIA. Hope that helps, oh boy. So let's see what options traders are doing in NVIDIA. So NVIDIA call buyers definitely driving price today. Now when this flow alert comes in just a few minutes after the cash open, I do interpret that a little bit differently. I interpret that I'm looking at the direction of the hero signal as a flow alert comes in just after the open. In this case, this was bullish. So there has not been an opportunity really for the options trades to mean revert. So that's just signaling significant options activity. In this case, bullish. Orange line rising, flow alert comes in. I'm looking for a long entry. So just like everything else, hero signal very bullish. Call buyers from 9:30 to 10:30. Take the foot off the gas for a little bit. And now in the case of NVIDIA, they've come back in and started buying calls pretty quickly. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. Let's zoom in. Nice steady progress on this uptrend. Traders buying calls. Deep pullbacks to this trend line. Again, confirmed by the market pulse price change indicator. The extremes, I'm looking at the red. Actually, this one was a little better right here. Trend break, as remember 10:30 again, call buyers took their foot off the gas. Price breaks trend, reverses lower. All right, so that's NVIDIA. So at this morning, those are the stocks that were on top of at the top of the ranking from strong to weak of the hero signal. So let's take a look now at the bottom of that hero signal ranking. First, Meta. And just the opposite for Meta. Downtrend all day long. Let's go back to hero. I'm going to close full screen, scroll down to the bottom of the list. And what I was looking at this morning is Meta and Microsoft at the bottom of the list. So the ranking has changed a little bit, but when I was looking at this morning, those were the two at the bottom of the list. So let's go to Meta. Remember, Meta was very strong yesterday. So let's go back to full screen. All right, so there's some interesting patterns with Hero today. So first of all, you can see mainly call sellers driving price in Meta. These patterns, Spotgamma is calling a call Matterhorn pattern. It's a call reversal. Sharp spike up in Hero, quick drop. Again, two of these patterns. There are 4 flow alerts here. And those tightly packed flow alerts can often indicate consolidation or mean reverting price action. So a little bit difficult to interpret today. And often if there are, let's say 2 or more packed closely together and then one following, that can be a good directional indicator. So you can see in this case, this last flow alert comes in right around 10:45 as price was moving lower. All right, so I think the easiest thing to interpret on this chart was definitely the reversals of the call buyers right around 9:50 and then 10:05. And then the call signal moving lower, making lower highs, lower lows. So let's go take a look now at Bookmap. Take a look at the order flow. And this was bearish from 10 a.m. down. So unlike everything else that moved up at 10 a.m., Meta started moving lower, making lower highs, lower lows. Classic absorption at the 540 level. Note the liquidity, those are limit sell orders in the order book. That's shown by the heat map and Bookmap. Those levels, those orders were not consumed, so they remain in the order book. So absorption at that level, price moves lower. All right, the last stock I wanted to take a look at is Microsoft. This was another weak signal. Initially bullish in the morning. Move up at 10 a.m., but quickly broke lower. The more significant move was the trend break below VWAP and the move lower. Another test of VWAP. All right, let's go take a look at at Hero for Microsoft. Here's the case of a flow alert acting as a mean reverting signal. Price moves higher as traders buy calls. Then right around 10:30, they start buying puts and selling calls. Price moves lower. Put line flattens out, but traders call sellers, then call buyers, driving price in Microsoft today. All right, any final questions, comments, any stocks you want me to take a look at? Let's go back to, all right, Hector, asked me to comment on this chart right here. This is not something that I really look at on a regular basis. This is the combo charts, combo strikes. This is for the SB 500, combining SPX and SPY Gamma. And this is for next expiration. So this would be for the expiration today. Above the zero line here, this is positive gamma. So above positive gamma, below negative gamma. So you can see the shift right here from positive to negative gamma. And that occurs right around 55.82. Remember, the volatility trigger is right around somewhere right between these two strikes right here. So according to this, for next expiration combo strikes, combining SPY and SPX, the shift from positive gamma to negative gamma occurs a little bit higher, right around 55.82. And we can shift to SPY. So now in this case, this shift from positive to negative gamma occurs closer to the SPY volatility trigger, which is at 555. All right, Hector, so that's what this is telling me. Again, just where gamma shifts from positive to negative and vice versa. All right, last call for questions, stocks. All right, everyone, I want to thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Everyone, have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Thanks again. Bye.